And welcome back to our big, or should we say rather, mega test of subcompact 7-seaters. Last time out, we tested the acceleration, braking, cargo capacity, and extra features of each and every one of these contenders.
At the time, it was the Stargazer in the lead.
But the remaining tests could still shake up the order. There are a lot of points up for grabs.
So let's get to it. Let's see if this next set of tests will shuffle up the rankings for this
Big test!
Part 2!
What the
But before we begin, we'd like to give a quick shout out to Metro Pacific Tollways for letting us shoot at the soon-to-open Silang Aguinaldo interchange of Calax.
By the way, Toyota didn't have an available unit to lend us, and we already had the other MPVs ready, so we couldn't wait and we just borrowed from someone else. So shout out to Yumi and Junie for lending us their car.
This time around, we're going to put people inside to see just how these things fare when you start putting humans instead of cargo inside.
All of these MPVs were designed to ferry 7 people. The question is, can each one ferry 7 people comfortably?
First thing I'm noticing is that there is very little feedback in the first few degrees of motion here in the steering wheel. It's a very big steering wheel, first of all, at least compared to the other units. It's very light, very easily maneuverable. The ride comfort so far, this is fairly flat road, but it's not too
We'll
bad.
find out more later on.
Yeah.
It was a bit noisy in the other MPVs on these roads, so noise suppression is a bit better here in the Xpander Cross.
That's true. How is it in the middle seats?
Yeah, I'm reasonably comfortable. The same airy feels giving, my knees have space. I'm 6'2". I need a lot of space.
I am the same height as Formula 1 driver Yuki Tsunoda. So for any car that I sit in the back, if I say it's tight, it's really tight at the back.
But for the average Filipino, diba? That's your height basically, a little below average.
I was about to say I'm below average.
A little
height,
below
so.
average height. It's fine, it's okay, right? But here in the back, I am about average height. I'm about 5'5", and it's decent here. I can actually sleep here. I can actually stay here on long rides. I have decent leg room. Medyo malalim yung sahig, and there's decent headroom. But anybody taller than me, I bet 5'7" and up, not gonna be comfortable here.
Body roll, at least here from the front, isn't outside of the ordinary. What I mean by that is that there is a bit. This is a high-riding MPV after all, but it's nothing to... Sorry. It's nothing to get worked up about.
And,
Body roll is a bit worse here at the back though.
Yeah.
As expected, of course.
Well, I'm noticing a little more sway because this has the most ground clearance. It's got 225 mils. Funny enough, the advertised ground clearance of this is more than the advertised ground clearance of a Montero Sport.
So yeah, for me, one of the biggest downsides really is the aircon. It just doesn't work so well. It's basically, I think, a blower. So it gets cold air from the front and blows it to the back. And
Yeah.
Leander, how's the aircon in the back?
It's okay. You need at least one pointed directly to you. So if there are 7 people here, there are only 4 vents there. One person will lose a vent.
That's a... What the hell was that?
Okay, so on normal roads, it's fine. But on rougher terrain, just like that, those rumble strips, it's bad for the Xpander.
Okay,
why
so
did the windshield washer
what
turn
just
on?
happened, guys, was...
I
okay,
guess-
Is that an emergency function?
Just bleep that out. But what just happened, guys? We went over some rumble strips, and Jason didn't touch anything.
Actually,
And-
let go of the steering wheel because it was shaking so much.
And the wiper washers just went on.
I guess
So-
there's just too much vibration.
Well,
And it kind of flicked the stock just enough to trigger the...
so hopefully other Xpander units don't do that. But yeah, that kind of says something about the build quality of this car. So yeah, general impressions, it's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of lateral movement. There's a lot of
I
this
think
and that.
when this came out, it was good.
Yes.
But after a few years, everyone else has caught up so much.
Yes, this
It would
was
take a little bit of a bigger update for this to be competitive.
This
But
was a
as it
segment
is-
pioneer, so to speak, actually.
Yeah, but as it is, just take it in isolation. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Now let's get into other cars.
Yep. Alright, so we move on to the Toyota Veloz, and Carla immediately has something to say about the AC at the back.
Okay, to be fair, it does look nice. It looks like the most modern unit of any of the cars here. But it's quite ineffective. So what it does is that it has 2 slits on each side.
Yep.
They're quite small. And then you see this flap?
Yep.
Yeah, it just points the air down.
Yeah, so it's
Or
the,
towards the back.
it's the equivalent
Or towards
of pag nahanginan ka, pag ginanyan mo yung kamay mo, lumilipat yung hangin na gano'n. That's it.
I
So,
mean, it's hitting my face now, but we have to ask Leander how it is in the back.
It's pretty bad here. I can understand why you'd want the dark tint.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the plus side, I do like the interior. The materials are quite nice.
it's
yeah.
the least
Pretentious.
feeling.
It's the least pretentious.
Because
then-
it's pretentious.
Because
It's not,
Yeah.
it has fabric, but it feels nice. It's good fabric.
yeah.
What about you, Jason?
The
Impressions?
brakes work. I am just happy that the brakes work. The brakes actually have a decent bite point. I don't have to wait too long for the car to come to a full stop, so that's all well and good. The steering wheel also is a bit more responsive. Still pretty dull. It is an MPV, but much more responsive than the Xpander Cross. My biggest complaint here up front is how snug it is. This is very un-Toyota. The center console here eats up quite a bit of legroom.
Yeah.
And then the plastics here on the left side also eat up a fair bit of legroom. But on the plus side, aside from the use of black plastic, which you'll see in any affordable Toyota model, this is, I would think, one of the more decent looking interiors of the bunch.
It does have a nice two-tone finish up front. Like,
Yeah.
It's plastic, but it's executed quite nicely.
Yeah. As for ride,
Nope, nothing
That's
happened.
okay.
as for ride,
No, that's okay.
What do you guys think?
I think it's better. It stands. It's one of the more solid ones in this test.
Yeah.
You drive around, you feel that it just is built better than most. So when you go over bumps like that, rough roads, wipers don't come on.
And it's not as noisy.
Except when you open the door.
Yeah,
you open
it
the
is
door,
noisy.
For some reason, the door closing sound, which a lot of more affordable cars have upgraded the way the doors sound when they close because they know that's what makes a car feel expensive.
Yeah.
Something went off with this one. When we closed the door, we were all shocked. We all had to look around and try it again.
Pong, pong.
And something's wrong.
Yeah.
But
Door.
going back to what Jason said, it's surprising how he said it was a bit snug in the driver's seat because here at the back, while there are a lot of things under you guys' seat, it's a bit more roomy here in terms of leg room. It's comfier. I have a lot more room to work with. You guys are fine there, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And
The middle row's great right now.
another thing I noticed with the ride, this is the lowest in the group. So it has the least ground clearance, has about 160-ish, 170-ish mils, layo from the Xpander. But that also means that we have less
Body
lateral movement. It's softer than the Xpander, interestingly.
Yeah,
But
I agree there.
we're
It
moving
is-
around
yeah.
less.
It is softer than the Xpander Cross, but when you're here up front, despite this being the lowest riding of the bunch, it has a weird floaty quality when you're driving past it. I was sort of merging lanes back and forth, and I don't know, for lack of a better term, it feels very floaty.
Some people like the floaty feeling, some people don't. What do you guys think? Do you prefer a slightly firmer ride, or do you guys prefer a more cushiony or pillowy ride? All right, we have huge expectations for the one we're riding in right now, the Hyundai Stargazer, because it performed well in a couple of our tests already. So let's see how this thing is as passengers.
Starting here from the back, if you can look at how I'm sitting right now, it's really comfortable here. The seat is a bit reclined, but I've got a lot of leg room. I've got decent headroom. I've got a lot of elbow room. I've got a small armrest here with cubbies, cup holder, and if I'm not mistaken, this is a 12-volt socket, so I can also put a charger there. So it's not bad being a third row passenger here.
And onto the second row, Carlo?
Well, first, I like these really big cup holders. I think having it up here, not down here, although there is a big space here also, it's just nice to have a cup holder within reach all the time.
I noticed that you're not struggling with your knees here at all.
Yes, I have a lot of space for my legs. My feet can go under the driver. There's a lot of headroom.
Headroom for days for you
And
guys.
shoulder room.
Yeah.
So overall, it's quite a nice interior to be in. The doors are a little bit high, especially when you compare it to the Xpander.
It's actually by my head already.
So
It's enough for Carlo. For us, it's a bit
fine
high.
for me because you also have a big window that goes up, so it still feels light and airy, which I think matches the interior.
Not for my
Sorry, it matches the exterior.
not for my altitude.
But I think of all of us, Jason has the most to say because he's in the driver's seat of this car.
Okay, Jason?
First things first, it is spacious. There is a center console here. It is quite bulky, but it's not affecting my legroom at all. The door construction leaves enough space here, so I'm quite comfortable here. Have enough headroom, have enough shoulder room. Everything's very maneuverable. There's a lot of things easily within reach. Lots of cup holders, cubby sockets. There's wireless charging here up front. I can easily reach the touchscreen, aircon controls. That's all well and good. The steering feels very electric. It's quite light under city conditions, but I was able to drive it on the highway earlier and it was plenty responsive, so I have no complaints on that front.
Aircon here at the back, by the way, is really good. I thought it was just the weather, which Carlo pointed out earlier, because before we started this one, it started to rain, but now it's hot again, and that
It's even
aircon
hotter
with the
now.
tint, yeah, it's nice here. It's actually pretty cool here. It's by far, out of the three we've tested so far, this one has the best AC at the back, I think. At least for me here, the third row.
This is nice and comfy, actually. I mean, the seats.
Yeah,
The seats are probably the most supportive ones for the second row. I feel like pretty good lumbar support, even if there's no manual adjust. But more impressively for the Hyundai, for me, I think it's the build quality. Like these are the first chairs that we have that don't creak when you push the door panels in.
Yeah,
They're quite solidly built.
yeah.
So only time will tell with the plastics. We've heard some mixed reviews about long-term
Longevity, yeah.
reliability of the plastics of Hyundais, but I think as a first impression, it's quite good.
Well,
Just speaking about the plastics, we just went over a set of rumble strips and there was noticeable vibration here on the dashboard while we're doing that, but I didn't feel it too much under my butt.
I didn't
so-
hear it that much.
Oh,
I was
pretty
adjusting the seat. I was trying to make it a bit more upright. Headroom's a bit less now, but still pretty decent here. But I didn't hear the rumble strips. It was shaking badly in the Veloz and the Xpander Cross, I remember.
You know what? The body control of this one is the best one here so far.
So far.
Body control, like there's no alon
Yeah.
like in the Veloz, and there's no sway like in
Yeah.
the Xpander.
Sway is so much less here,
Yeah.
especially here at the back.
And it feels chunky. Like it feels like a quality product, which I
Yeah.
think is a big jump from where Hyundai was in the
Yeah.
past few years.
Just jumping off what Anton said there about the body control here. This so far feels like the best handling one. I do feel very connected to the road, and the maneuverability is great, at least as far as MPVs are concerned. Has a nice turning radius, did a tight U-turn earlier, no problem there. And yeah, overall the handling's pretty good.
I think the egg shape of this thing helps.
Yeah.
No, but I actually like the egg shape. I think the reason why so many people ask us about the Stargazer is it looks so different.
Yeah.
When you see it in the road, you're like, hey, what's that?
It's definitely a Stargazer. Look at it from up front or at the back. It's a Stargazer.
And I think, honestly, this would take sales away from the Star, yeah.
Yeah, it might. It just
Actually,
might.
yeah.
Because you can just seat as many people, right? It's
Seat
just the
as
same.
many
Yeah.
Yes, the Star has more up-end, higher, better feeling materials, but for everyone else in the car, these materials are quite nice.
If you don't really need that much space inside and that much premium, this would make sense over that one. Yeah.
Yes, and there is a lot of space because I have legroom.
Okay,
And
so
no
now
wipe
that
rack.
I heard.
Yeah.
Because we were going a bit slow.
So
Okay.
there's a little bit more rattling because that's in two parts.
Yeah.
So more parts you have, the more they're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other
But
than
it's
that,
not that bad.
yeah.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I mean, the wipers didn't go on.
I mean, it's not like you're driving over rumble strips all the time.
Yeah.
No, but like the insulation, I think is also one of the best we've tried so far.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It just feels heavy. It feels
It does.
like I was saying it about the Veloz. It felt chunky. It felt heavy.
But there's a nice weightiness.
This
to
one
this,
has
yeah.
a nice weight.
Even more so
Which
than
is
the
what you
others.
couldn't say about Korean cars just a few years ago.
Yeah, they made a lot of strides in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So far in terms of ride and handling and comfort, the Stargazer does meet our expectations so far. So on to the last car, the Honda BRV. And now for the final contender here for the ride, handling, and comfort test is the Honda BRV. And no, Carla isn't sitting closer to me. The body of the BRV is actually the narrowest in this group. That's why people just think we're seated closer together. But Carla is seated as far back as he can already, and I'm seated in my usual position.
Okay, now I have to preface this because I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
So I am taller than the average person, but still, my legs touch Jason here, who's seated in front, and it just feels a bit claustrophobic. You know? So I'm wondering how it is in the back with the under.
It's actually a bit better here than the second row, I would assume. I have, even with the second row seats adjusted almost to the rearmost position, I still have okay legroom. At least I'm not hitting the seats. And I have okay headroom, but elbow room is significantly a bit worse here than, say, the Stargazer. But my biggest complaint here is not the room. I know somebody taller than me wouldn't fit here at all. 5'7" and up wouldn't fit here. But the AC here is kind of pretty bad. The situation here at the back. It's not...
The
it's
blower
not,
needs to be
it's a bit hot.
stronger, yeah.
It's a bit hot.
So the default setting of this should be off and on and just at 3 all the time.
And speaking of off, Jason, could you reach and turn off our rear AC, please?
I cannot. It is too far away.
And that's sort of our common complaint so far with all of them here. And clearly it's made for a right-hand drive market. The Stargazer has it, this one has it, the Xpander has it, but the difference is...
There's just no way to turn off the aircon from the front.
Yeah.
So
You just couldn't put a button there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're stuck with it. Yeah, like for me, honestly, it wasn't so much a problem. I just reached back and then found it and turned it
Yeah.
off. But again, I have long arms. I can reach across
Yeah.
the whole car.
Yeah.
Someone like me with T-Rex arms will struggle.
The design is very old school Mitsubishi Adventure, Isuzu Crosswind, independent of the front.
Yeah. So it's, it's the same thing with everyone.
Yeah.
And I really hope that, if they're going to facelift the BRV, the Stargazer, and the Xpander, although the Xpander is in dire need of an all-new model, I hope they just button, done.
From the front.
Yes, from the front.
Yes.
Right, so...
Wait, remember earlier how I asked you to turn down the AC?
Yeah.
Please point one towards me. It's seriously hot here. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
My legs are sweating bad.
Okay, so
So we're about to hit
That's-
the rumble strips. I
Yep.
think that's your cue, Jason.
Okay, so right away, it's not as bad as, say, the Xpander Cross, but even before we hit the rumble strips, I can feel the little imperfections on the road, more so than the Stargazer. The Stargazer was quite well. On the plus side, compared to those guys in the back, I actually do have a decent amount of room here in the front, decent amount of leg room and headroom, and even shoulder room. So at the front, it's great, but I think, as they said, it tends to bunch up in the back.
yeah. And as for the ride, okay, there is a hint of firmness. It's firmer than the Stargazer. It's firmer than the Veloz. But it's still pretty supple. It's not like...
It's not crashy.
Yeah.
It's not crashy. So
yeah.
it's quite firm.
Yeah.
I was the one who drove this car here.
Yeah.
And it did feel like a sporty ride. Like
Yeah.
if I was going to choose one that I would myself drive, this would be the easy choice.
That's the compromise. You have a slightly firmer ride for better handling, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But at least it's not crashy. So we're going over some pretty bad roads now.
Yeah.
You don't hear rattles. You don't feel that the car is going to sway. I
Yeah.
think its center of gravity might even be better than that of
Then the Veloz?
I think so. In terms of the way the body is controlled.
Okay, body control in this is very good, yes. But I'd have to put it second to the Stargazer in terms of body control.
Even
Because-
here at the back, it's the same story.
Because there's that little bit more, it's a little bit more affected by creases and bumps. The Stargazer was a little bit flatter through them, but this is pretty good. In terms of ride handling compromise, I'd probably put the Stargazer up on top. Then if we're talking body control motions, this would be second, even if it is firmer. The Veloz, the floatier Veloz, probably in third, and the Xpander Cross just really feels its age. It just does that all over the place.
I guess we can all agree on that
I
ranking.
definitely agree. So the ride, comfort, and handling, consistent, same for both.
Stargazer, BRV, Veloz, then the Xpander Cross. All of these are subcompacts, but does that mean they're all easy to move around? We've lined up a few tests to measure turning radius, ease of parking, and overall maneuverability. I've volunteered Distribute to do all of those in each of these cars. For the maneuverability test, as I mentioned earlier, I volunteered Distribute. So what I did for this one was I parallel parked all 4 cars, one by one. And what I discovered was, coming in at 4th place was the Mitsubishi Xpander Cross. Well, it had light steering just like any other MPV in the big test, but it just doesn't have these parking aids that the more modern models have. It doesn't even have rear parking sensors. While it does have a reversing camera, you won't hear any beeps if you're gonna hit the car behind you. And while it also does have that A-pillar window, I have to mention that, it just lags behind in terms of tech. And if we're just talking about day-to-day driving and parking around Metro Manila in tight spaces, you're gonna need those. Coming in at third is the Hyundai Stargazer, and while it does have some of the tech that the other cars do, it just isn't as easy to park. I have to admit the turning radius is quite small on this one, and it also has that A-pillar window I talked about earlier, but that A-pillar is just a bit too chunky, and that small triangle window up front just doesn't do much for visibility. And speaking of visibility, that high belt line just makes it a bit harder for me to see the road and see the obstacles behind me or beside me when I'm parking in tight spaces. Coming in at second is the Honda BRV. It also has light steering, but it does have a slightly bigger turning radius than the Veloz, which is why it comes in at second. It also has the parking aids I mentioned, like the reversing camera. It also has the side mirror camera, actually. And of course, it also has rear parking sensors, making it a bit easier to parallel park. Now, coming in at first is the Toyota Veloz. I have to admit, steering is a bit lighter on some of the other MPVs, but this just has the whole package. It also has that A-pillar window that does wonders for visibility. I've been raving about that. And it also has a 360-degree camera with reverse parking sensor. So that's basically what you need if you want to park in tight spaces. Now, if you want to buy something that you want to use daily in the metro, you want to use for your daily errands like groceries or going to the mall, these are just things that you want to consider. So in terms of maneuverability, the Toyota just takes top marks.
And now this is what I consider one of the most important categories, value for money. Now when we say value for money, we don't really mean what is the cheapest one. It's more, how far can your peso go when you decide on one of these MPVs?
Okay, value for money is not always about the least expensive or most expensive. Well, obviously not the most expensive, but yeah, but how much bang for your buck do you get? So we're gonna start with the BRV.
Well, the BRV, you get a lot of features. There's no doubt about that. I guess the only problem is how much are you willing to pay for those features? Because this is the most expensive one here at 1,390.
Yes.
So yes, it's the most expensive, but you also get the radio-guided cruise control. You get, paddle shifters. You get things that none of these other cars have. So I'd say it's not the best of this group.
Yeah.
I think that one you reserve a little bit for later.
Yeah.
But in terms of like where it stands here, it really depends. Are you willing to pay to play?
Exactly.
That's a BRV.
All right. Leander.
So I had to double check. I'm sorry. So the top spec Veloz goes for 1.25 million. So it's slightly a bit more affordable, or significantly actually more affordable than the BRV. But like Carlos said, it does lack a bit of toys. It doesn't have cruise control, and it doesn't perform. It isn't as loaded in terms of tech as the BRV. But in my opinion, it still gives you a lot of value for your money because, as we pointed out earlier, it has the features you need. It might lack some of those here and there, but it's got the basics that what Filipino buyers need, what motorists need in their day-to-day driving.
And as for me, I don't have any of those features. And
you have cruise control,
my
dude.
car is more expensive, the Xpander Cross, I am more expensive than the Veloz and the Stargazer. I am at 1,338,000 pesos because I have the two-tone paint on my car. If you don't want the two-tone paint, it's minus 10,000, but it's still more expensive than the Toyota and the Hyundai. So it's the oldest one of the group. It has a 4-speed transmission. It doesn't have an ADAS, and it doesn't have the largest cargo area. And if you tally it all up, it's why is it that expensive? And you start asking yourself, why is it that expensive?
Well, let me ask you, what fuel economy does this? Do
Okay,
you get in this?
About 8.5 kilometers per liter in the city and about 14 on the highway.
What did you get?
That's me again. Okay.
What did you get in the baby?
This one did about 12 in the city, 10 to 12 in the city, and about 16 combined with the highway.
This did just about that in the city and about 18 kilometers per liter on the highway. So
let's now go to Jason.
Okay, the Stargazer goes for 1.288 million, which makes it almost the most affordable of the bunch. It's more expensive than this slightly. It comes with a lot of features that these two don't have. Not as many features as this one does, but for the price, I think it wings out in the value for money category. And in terms of fuel economy, mixed highway and city, I got about 10.8 kilometers per liter. So, you know, it's batting in that same ballpark, and yeah, for the price.
Not in my ballpark, it did less than 10.
So yeah, I think we can all come into agreement that
definitely.
the Stargazer has the best value for money.
Definitely wins the value.
Coming in at second is...
Oh,
is it the BRV or is it the... By the way, this one with the white pearl finish comes with an extra 15K on the price tag, so it's 1.265.
At the risk of, you know, having it be a cop-out, if you don't want features, if you think value for money is getting the most features out of a smaller price tag, then this wins it. But if you think value for money means getting the most features, then, you know, it's this one.
It is a toughie though, because that's a big gap between these two.
It's a huge gap.
It's a big gap.
I think
This is a big test.
This has
Kind
to
of tip it
be...
towards the
I
Toyota.
think the gap is too big.
Yeah,
I
the gap
think,
is too
yes,
big.
the features are nice, but when you're talking about this price range, the peso has a big value.
This is a very
There's
price
It's a
sensitive
six-digit.
very price
Yeah.
sensitive.
Six-digit,
so it's
right?
about 140,000 pesos different.
Yeah.
140,000 pesos can buy you a lot outside of a car.
You have to give the second place to
Yes,
the
we have to.
Veloz.
Third goes to the Honda, and
Lastly,
sorry, Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
That goes in last place for value for money.
which then brings us to the conclusion.
Conclusion time. Time to recap our score. So, I had 9 points from the first test. I had
I'm gonna
8
bring out
points
my
tied,
Código.
9 points from the first test.
I
You
had 8 points from this first
I
test.
got
You
10.
guys got a lot more than we did.
Got 10, I got 14.
Okay. So,
How did we
recap time.
fare? So let's start with the maneuverability test. This
Okay.
is the first test of part 2. So I gave the Veloz top marks with 4 points, BRV 3 points, Stargazer 2 points, and the Xpander Cross 1 point. As I mentioned earlier, if you're just talking about maneuverability, parking it in tight parking spaces, this is the easiest one. Yeah. So next test is comfort and handling.
Okay, so comfort and handling. Well, it was interesting the way we drew our conclusions because they rode the same way they handled. So for that, the Stargazer has the best balance, actually. It rode the most supple. It's not as sharp to drive as the Honda. We'll give it that. But when it comes to balance, like, this is comfy, and for an MPV / crossover, it's dynamic. So this gets top marks. This gets 4 points. Second goes to the BRV because, yeah, the ride is supple. The suspension geometry, the tuning, is excellent on this one. It's just a tad bit firmer compared to the Hyundai. The Veloz, some people might not like the floatiness of the Veloz. There's a little less body control here, but if we're on the topic of body control, this went up and down and side to side, the Xpander Cross. That is, of course, because of the car's age. It's already turning 6 years old. So, Stargazer, 4 points.
Actually, wait. we gave it double points because it's comfort and handling.
right.
And
So
coincidentally, we
it's
ranked
the same
both
ranking
for
anyway.
both tests.
So
yeah.
it's 8 points for the Hyundai, 6 points. You're growing up some points,
A
Carlo.
little bit.
6 points for the BRV, 4 points for the Toyota, and sadly just 1 point for the
2 points.
2 points. Sorry, for the.
Gotta
Xpander.
give yourself some credit.
Wala ka nang points eh. Papuasan mo pa eh.
Okay, and next test.
So, next part is interior space.
Okay,
I think Carlo's the best one to talk about this since he
Yeah,
has the most
you know,
space.
he needs space.
I need the most space. So when it comes to interior space, we were most impressed by the Stargazer. It was when we got in first, it felt nice, but also I had a lot of space, so I could stretch out. And behind me, Leander was quite comfy. We had a lot of headroom, shoulder room was good. And then second to that was the Veloz, because despite it looking quite compact from the outside, when you go inside, the interior space is quite good. It's packaged quite well. I know Toyota in the past has lagged behind when it comes to interiors, but this new generation of Toyota has caught up quite a lot compared to the first gen Avanza, if everyone remembers.
Yeah,
That,
of course.
no? So the Veloz gets second place. Surprisingly, the Xpander Cross gets 2 points.
Yes, I get 2 points.
Because sometimes simplicity is key. So when you go inside the car, it's just a big open space. Not much features, yes, but the big space helps in making you feel a little bit airy. Also, the door sills were quite low, so it just gave it a better greenhouse feel, no? And unfortunately, my baby got 1 point because although the cockpit is quite nice, a little cramped for me, the third row was okay,
but
the middle row was just, it's too tight.
the shoulder room was
Shoulder room was quite
It's a 4+2.
quite close. We were
Super
sitting
close,
a little close for
Yeah.
too close for comfort. So shoulder room was a bit tight, and leg room in the second row was just the worst of the 4. So unfortunately, she has to get only 1 point in this round. But that's the interior space.
So we've already ranked value for money.
Yep.
And now we have the total tally.
Okay, it's time for math. And actually, we did that already. And
Thank
Where
God.
is your código? You still have no código. It's
Okay.
already part 2.
so, okay, all in all, my Xpander got 9 points from the first round and 6 points for the second round, giving me a total of
Dun, 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 dun.
9 plus 6.
yeah,
15 points.
15
dude.
points.
15 points.
Okay.
So that's
Carlos-
last.
Yeah,
Dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last.
Just saying.
By a fair margin.
In third place,
So the BRV, my baby came out in third place with a total of 20 points. It scored 8 points in the first round and 12 points in the second round. While it has all the highest tech features of this group, unfortunately, certain tiny things just added up to make it lose some points and essentially value for money at the end. So that's why it ended up in third place.
Now, coming in at second is the Veloz. I got 10 points in part 1 and I got 14 points in part 2, bringing me to a total of 24 points. Now, honestly, coming into this big test, I wasn't really expecting much out of this because I've driven it and I felt like in terms of performance, it was lagging behind. But the figures, our tests proved otherwise. And comparing it to the others here, in terms of value for money, yeah, it does give you a very, very balanced package. But to everyone's surprise, I think,
the winner.
Wait. I gotta get ready for
Of
this.
course, he's gonna blow it up.
Okay, I gotta get ready for this. So with 14 points in part 1 and 18 points in part 2, my Hyundai Stargazer runs away with the top marks with a total of 32 points. I don't think it's much of a contest here. It's the most comfortable, offers the best value for money, has almost, well not almost, but it has a lot of features these two don't have. And yeah, it's just a well put together package from Hyundai.
And again, how much was this?
1.288.
So it's one of the cheaper ones in the test.
Yes.
it's only like 20K, 20 grand
Yeah,
more expensive than this one. It's a very, very balanced
It's a
package.
bargain. When you
It's a
think
bargain.
about it, no?
It's a bargain, yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, and that concludes our big test, and that also shows that Jason is a pretty sore winner.
Big test!